Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at noon.
Breaking news alert. If you're out and about in Minnesota, it will likely be mandated you have to wear a mask. Governor Tim Walz is expected to join other states in requiring a face covering. This comes as the Minnesota Hospital Association called on the governor to order masks statewide last week. The governor is addressing the state at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll have his remarks right here on KX4, on the VNL News app, and on our Facebook page as well. And this comes as the Minnesota Department of Health is reporting 507 new cases of COVID-19. This brings the active cases in the state to 4,175. 4 new deaths are reported, bringing the death toll to 1,552. 273 people are currently hospitalized with the virus, 119 of them in the ICU. 42,234 are listed as recovered. The North Dakota Department of Health is reporting 160 new cases of COVID-19 within the state. That's the highest new case count since the state started tracking the pandemic. 2 more deaths have also been linked to the illness, bringing the death toll in the state to 96. There are now 864 active cases in North Dakota. 4,407 are listed as recovered, and we'll have more on the pandemic on a national level a little later in our newscast. The Clay County Sheriff says the BCA has now been called in to help investigate an officer-involved shooting near Glyndon earlier this morning. It happened around 1:30 at 90th Street North and Highway 10. Authorities say Glyndon police officers tried to stop a vehicle for an equipment violation, but that vehicle wouldn't pull over, and then a chase started. During that chase, the officer fired at the vehicle. Police say no one was injured in the shooting and there is no danger to the public. Now make sure to stay with Valley News Live as we continue to follow this story. It's a nice, cool day for the people who don't love the hot temperatures that we have, but it seems that our weather is changing, as it always seems to be around here. Lisa Green is in with a check of our forecast on this Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, it never lasts long, whatever you happen to be experiencing here in the Valley. And we do have some changes ahead for us by the end of this week. We're looking at heat and storm chances ramping up, and I've declared a first alert weather day for Friday because we're looking at the potential for a couple of rounds of severe weather. Here's a look at the headlines for that. We're looking at 2 rounds early morning potentially and into the evening. There is some uncertainty here. You know, the level of intensity may not be as bad depending on how the ingredients come together, but we want to alert you, give you that first heads up that we may be dealing with this. And then also there's going to be intense heat and humidity on top of that, and that's all going to contribute to that rain and perhaps excessive rain possible lasting into Thursday and continuing into Saturday. So a lot of factors to keep an eye out for Friday. Right now, looking at conditions that are beautiful. It's quiet. Temperatures are in the 60s to about 70 for many of us. Fargo's right there. And as we look at our forecast for the afternoon, you can see we'll warm up a little more than yesterday, but keeping things pleasant, not too hot. Temperatures in the 70s today. More on that extended planner coming up in just a few minutes.
You're liking the cooler temps. Thank you, Lisa. New at noon, authorities in North Dakota are searching for a missing veteran who suffers from PTSD. 50-year-old Matthew Lonefight hasn't been heard from for more than a month. Authorities say he may be near Mandaree. That's where they conducted a search. Lonefight is about 5'10", 190 pounds, with brown eyes and black and gray short hair. Picture up on your screen. If you have any information about him, call your local police. Also new at noon, the Barnes County Sheriff's Department is investigating a stabbing that left 3 people hurt. Authorities were called to a farm near Sibley, North Dakota on Monday. That's when they found 3 people who were stabbed and say the suspect took off. 2 of the victims were treated and released, and there's no word on the 3rd. The sheriff's office says the suspect is a man, but no other information is being released at this time. 2 people are now in jail after an hours-long standoff in Grand Forks. It all started when a man ran from officers yesterday afternoon. Police say 33-year-old Edward Harper Jr. was wanted for questioning in a possible kidnapping. Soon after, police issued a shelter-in-place warning for those living in that area as they looked for Harper. Eventually, police zeroed in on a home on 12th Avenue North. During the standoff, police set up a perimeter and brought in the regional SWAT team. Then last night, 3 men came out of the house. One was identified, spoken to, and then sent on his way. The second is 34-year-old Caesar Cruz of Grand Forks, who was arrested on an unrelated warrant. The final person to leave the house, 33-year-old Edward Harper Jr., who was arrested on 3 unrelated warrants. Additional charges on Harper Jr. will be forwarded, and this remains under investigation for that alleged kidnapping. Guns were found in that house as well. A high-risk sex offender will soon be living in Cass Lake, Minnesota. The sheriff's department there says 51-year-old Michael Little Wolf will be living in that community on July 30th. Authorities say when Little Wolf was a teenager, he forced his way into a girl's home and threatened to hurt her if she didn't have sex with him. High-risk offenders are considered the most likely to reoffend. The U.S. is approaching 4 million coronavirus cases. That's according to the latest numbers from Johns Hopkins. More than 141,000 Americans have died from the virus. It comes as President Trump returned to the White House briefing room for his first coronavirus press conference since April. Laura Podesta has more.
President Trump delivered his starkest warning yet on the coronavirus.
It will probably, unfortunately, get worse before it gets better.
In his first pandemic briefing in months, the president told the American public to take precautions.
When you are not able to socially distance, wear a mask, get a mask. Whether you like the mask or not, they have an impact.
Presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden says President Trump has quit on the country.
The president's supposed to care, to lead, to take responsibility.
Arizona, Florida, and Texas each reported more than 100 deaths yesterday.
Unfortunately, our hospital rooms look like war zones.
Hidalgo County, Texas has become one of the hardest hit areas.
We normally do about maybe 6 to 10 funerals a month, and right now we're doing almost 10 a week.
Johnny Garcia's funeral home is now streaming services online because restrictions are limiting a family's ability to mourn.
We're not going to allow any pandemic to interfere with what we do as a job.
California surpassed 400,000 cases yesterday. Health officials say it'll take time before the state's economic rollback shows results.
When we might see the impact of the dimming actions over the last couple of weeks may take up to 3, 4, even 5 weeks.
New data from the CDC estimates the number of infections is as much as 13 times higher in parts of the country than actually reported. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
New York is the only other state with more than 400,000 infections, but is reporting fewer daily cases than California right now. Officials in LA say they're at the brink of shutting that city back down. In our consumer alert this afternoon, it's not a great time to sell suits. Tailored Brands, the parent company of Joseph A. Bank and the Men's Warehouse, is reportedly set to close up to 500 stores across the country. According to USA Today, Tailored Brands will shutter those locations over time and cut about 20% of its corporate workforce by the end of the company's second quarter. The company has not identified which locations will close. Coming up here at noon, why one man had to pay hundreds of dollars for a COVID-19 test when he needed the results ASAP. But next, Lisa Green is in with a check of that cooler forecast today and when a first alert weather day has now been issued.